it's a lot of energy going to a place and being a different person. In hindsight, a part of me was also tired of trying to fit into that environment.
Yeah.
Nigeria, really enjoyed it. It became clear to me quite early on that the route for me was always entrepreneurship. If money drives you to start a business, forget it.
Yeah.
Just go get a 9 to 5, bro. Fear restricts you. When you embrace that level of freedom where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it and I don't care if I fail. But I wish someone told me that. If you can put a Nigerian in Antarctica and they'll find a way to survive.
Yeah, fact.
I don't care too much about what people think about you. Entrepreneurship is not independence. So we even did business whilst we were in boarding school.
You were literally running games.
It was naughty, but
yeah,
like those are the things that in real life, when you come out, you need to learn how to almost hustle.
What is happening, beautiful people? This is the Empowered Human Podcast. This podcast is part of Empowered Human Tribe. Some journeys change your life. This is one of them. From the 15th to the 22nd of November, we are going to India. We're going to Varkala for Empowered Wellness Escape, designed for people who have been carrying a lot. To find out more, head over to empoweredhumantribe.co.uk. And big love to our sponsor, Life Lab Supplement. They produce high quality wellness supplements and help other brands build their own. Check them out at lifelabsupplement.com. Before we dive in, go ahead and subscribe, leave a rating, and share this podcast with someone you love. Now, take a deep breath. Open your mind and let's dive in. Talk to me about where you are now. What do you do? And what businesses do you run?
So at the moment, I run an event staffing consultancy where we speak to clients and we help them with staffing, be it waiters, bar staff, security, all the lot, really.
Oh, wow.
Anything you consider event staffing, we do it.
Amazing.
Cloakroom, hostesses,
wow,
all the lot. And we've got, I think, about 700 staff on our database at the moment.
Wow, 700
and growing. Yeah, so
that is crazy. Yeah. So before we get into all that, let's rewind it. Let's take it back. Talk to me about childhood, growing up. In Nigeria.
Yeah, childhood was fun, man.
Yeah.
Obviously, you grew up in Nigeria as well.
Yeah, I can relate.
So, I mean, I grew up in quite, what do you call it, a working class home? What do you say? My parents were really, really young. So I grew up with my grandparents. My granddad and my grandma raised me. Yeah. My granddad, blessed memories, he died last year.
Rest in peace.
But yeah, he was my father figure when I grew up, because my parents were really young and they were still in school. So they brought me up. And I had a cousin, so it was more like who was kind of in the similar situation. Yeah. My auntie had him quite young, so we both grew up with our grandparents. So that was my childhood, where, grew up with my grandparents in Akwa Ibom State in Nigeria. Really enjoyed it. Yeah. I enjoyed just the outdoors. Yeah. I think the little things that people take for granted nowadays. Yeah. Samba, play football on the sand.
Barefoot.
Barefoot, playing, because I play musical instruments. Yeah. So, I used to play from primary school, playing the trumpet and all of those things. So I'd say I had a really, really good childhood, and I went to a decent school, primary school and stuff. And then once I finished primary school, I then moved over to the UK. Yeah. So a big part of my childhood was in Nigeria. Yeah.
So what age did you move here?
I reckon it was around like 10, 11. I can't set my head around it, but somewhere around there.
So at what point did you find out that you were going to move, and how did you feel about the move? If you can remember.
I was excited about it because my dad all through my childhood, growing up with my grandparents, my dad was here because my dad was born. My dad was born in Scotland.
Yeah,
I'm here.
Yeah,
so
dad was born in Scotland and came back to Nigeria.
Yeah, so I think my granddad was sort of a traveling.
So
my granddad and my grandma were based here at some point. So they gave birth to my dad and some of his siblings here.
Yeah.
And I think at some point they moved to Nigeria, which is where obviously my dad met my mom, and then, I became a thing, and then had to grow up with my grandparents. And my dad came back here to finish his studies. Yeah. So for the most part that I remember anyway, my dad was always based here. Then my dad came back and got married to my mom. So at that point, we were always going to move over and become a family unit, which was great.
Yeah.
So I was really excited. I was just finishing primary school as well. So going into secondary school. And I remember, I think we weren't quite ready to travel yet. So I had to do a little bit of JS1, and it was like I knew I wasn't meant to, I was gonna leave soon. So
it was a point.
But it was great fun. I was really excited, obviously, to come here, start a new place,
of course,
start a new life and stuff like that. And I always wanted to travel out, because back then when you grow up,
you go abroad.
London, exactly. You look at London and says, "Oh my gosh, I'm going to London." And it was such a big deal back then, but now I look back at it, it's really the ghetto.
Give me out of London.
Man, I was excited. Excited to try something new, be in a new space, and I think that's just really. It's the same as me now. I'm always excited to try something new, be in a new space, and explore the world. I think that's, that excitement. Yeah.
So what was your first impression of the UK when
cold.
You first visited? Yeah.
Cold. I think that's the first big shock, because I don't think we didn't come in summer. We definitely came during the winter.
I as well.
Yeah, I see our pictures that I was like, wow, this is cold.
It's
cold. It was. Do you know what? I enjoyed it. It was something new, like I said.
Yeah.
Had to settle in. Obviously, from when we arrived, it was just a small family, and I think for the longest time I had to sleep in the living room, and growing up.
I can relate.
I think a lot of young African, and you know what, I give it to my parents, because my dad still, even though he did what he had to do to bring us over here, and we had to start somewhere, so
of course,
so but in general I had got into school here, and one thing I'd say is obviously that in terms of education we were so far forward in Nigeria, so when I got here I was like, wow. Like, I learned this a couple of years
I know this already, like year 2.
So I think that was one thing that shocked me, how sort of far forward we are in Nigeria in terms of education, at least for the early years anyway. They really do push you back at home. So that was one of the shocks, and obviously, like I said, the cold. But in general, I enjoyed it, being in a new place, and I just enjoyed being around my dad and my mom, and being a unit as a family. And that was the first time that I really experienced that. And obviously it took quite, a lot of years before I ever got to spend time with my parents as a unit.
How many years, if you can remember?
Reckon around, we moved here when I was between 11 and 13. So about those number of years. 13
years without your mum and dad?
Yeah, they were, my parents were young, so, and I was at my parents' wedding.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
So, so I remember the wedding vividly.
So how did you feel when you finally you reunited and as a one family unit?
I think it was great, because I always looked forward to it. The one thing I'd say is my granddad and my grandma played a great role in sort of making sure that I didn't lack in that sense. So I still had a father and a mother figure in my life for those years that my parents were still completing school and all of that stuff. So in that sense, I didn't really miss out on anything, but it was good to finally just be with your dad and your mom. I mean, I still call my grandparents dad and mom anyway, so it's a bit confusing. But it was good. It was good good to share, share some portion of my life with them. And obviously, for a long time, they still played really active roles in my life, even when I was with my grandparents. My dad used to travel down to Niger, spend sometimes Christmas. He would bring stuff over for us. My mum, she was in Nigeria, so she used to see me every now and again. Yeah. So I didn't really miss them, but it was good to be a unit.
Find together, I feel like a lot of times, grandparents' role in kids' life is so like underrated. Like even myself as well. Back in Nigeria growing up, I went to a boarding school. My brothers stayed at my grandma's house because my dad worked in the city in Lagos. My mum worked as a nurse and also like sold like turkey in the shop. So it was like life was so busy to have 3 boys to look after them. So grandparents like give up you lot.
Big up the grandparents.
Honestly, like they are like the backbone, and I love that in that community spirit of it all because without like what's the saying? It takes one
takes
person
a village to raise a kid.
It really does. So so big up grandparents. So talk to me about settling in the UK. School life, adjusting to a new country, new weather.
Honestly,
food.
Food. I mean, I didn't really miss the food like that because I've got my parents in it. So we take Africa anyway or Nigeria anywhere we go.
That's it.
The Gusi was still a Gusi, and the jollof was still jollof. Exactly. So I wouldn't say that I missed food that much because the food is really all about the people.
Yeah, of course. With.
But I'd say there's a big cultural difference, which is massively. Massive cultural difference, and it took me some time to adjust to that and just learn the lingo. Just being that, especially I was young, so when you get into school, you want to be part of the kids. You don't want to feel excluded. Exactly. So trying to learn, because in Nigeria everything's different.
Massively.
Everything is different. So learning those things here and just trying to be a normal kid without being that Nigerian kid that just came kind of the fresh fob. Exactly, that's the word. Fresh off the boat kid. I think those were like the major differences. It's like learning the cultural differences and trying to adjust and I guess in a way fit into the environment that I was in. I think one thing that worked for me is I was a really smart kid.
Amazing.
So I thank my grandparents for that, and obviously the schools that I went to when I was in Nigeria. When I came here, I really excelled in my studies. I think at some point I did GCSE in year 9 and I got A star.
Come on.
It just showed like sort of the difference in terms of like the educational standards. So again, that also took me a little bit of adjusting to.
You have to like dumb yourself down.
In a way, because it's like it takes a lot for you, and I think this is where I lacked a bit of focus in school because. Which I guess in a way was detrimental to me, which is at some point I did go back to Nigeria to finish my studies because my parents felt like I was almost regressing as opposed to progressing. Because a lot of the stuff, yes, I was learning some new things, like obviously things like French and all of those things were new, but things like maths, I was well ahead in stuff like that. I just lacked focus because a lot of times you're in school and you're like,
it's just too easy, man.
Yeah, I know. And then you start messing about, which obviously doesn't reflect good on you as a person. Yeah. And obviously, when you're getting the grades, it doesn't matter. Your parents don't care because you're getting it.
Your report card is
exactly. And so I think obviously, I think it was a parents teachers meeting that sort of made. I think the teacher said, it's a smart kid, but I think he just lacks a little bit of focus and all the little bits that, that's distracting and stuff like. Obviously, his results don't reflect that. And then, I just had a chat with my dad. And I said to him, I feel like, this is well behind. And obviously, I'm in an environment where I need to fit in. So I got to do what I got to do, do you get what I mean, to fit into that environment. And I think we had a chat about sort of moving me to a private school that was close by. And I was like, no, actually, I'd rather just go back to Nigeria and go to boarding school. Those were the two options. So I picked to go back to boarding school in Nigeria. Yeah.
So talk to me about the you were saying lacked focus. Can you go more into that? Like what does that look like?
So like just when you're in class, like what they're saying is like it doesn't. I'd say it's not that important because you already know it.
Yeah.
So you're gonna mess about with other kids. Yeah. You're gonna, just be chatting to girls and doing all the stuff that young kids do that you shouldn't be doing in class, basically. And it just wasn't. Yeah, just being disruptive sometimes.
To me, it sounds like significant enough for you to have a conversation with your dad to be like, I want to go like to Ninja. Like, was just because you're just driven to want to do well? Is that why you were like, okay, let me go back to Nigeria and pursue my education? And
I think in hindsight, a part of me was also tired of trying to fit into that environment. I was just tired of. I was tired of it all at the same time. I just say because it's a lot of energy going to a place and being a different person. Yeah, and then coming back home and you're like, okay, I can chill. Yeah, and then waking up every day and doing this exact same thing over and over again, or trying to learn how to be in this environment. I think that's something that probably every kid that's had to transition from Nigeria or wherever in Africa to the UK has gone through to a certain, that adjustment is a lot of energy. I also don't think a lot of kids that are going, I don't blame them because they're young. They, to some extent, they just being kids, innit? And they can be mean sometimes. And sometimes you have to just stand up to that or, try to be a person that you're maybe not to fit into that environment.
So like, did you experience any like that kind of behaviors,
Yeah, of course. Of course. I mean, I've got a gap in my teeth, so that's something that I didn't realize was a thing until I moved to this country, and then it was apparent that having a gap in your teeth is. No, I mean now is a thing because they're having models. It's just crazy how things.
Now you're fashionable.
Exactly. It's like okay, cool. But it's just certain things like that that you didn't really think. It's like okay, like for example, like my name Ime. Yeah. Like people would say, "Oh, immigrant" or something like that. Do you get what I mean?
Kids are brutal.
Like kids are brutal. So it's like stuff that when I look back at it, like I can laugh. But it's like back then when you're a kid, it's a little bit hurtful. Yeah. And you either have to stand up for yourself or find other means to be part of the cool kids so no one bullies you or be part of a set of people that you probably wouldn't associate with, but because they have a certain level of respect in the school, that's a certain level of protection for you. At the end of the day, it's just survival.
Of course.
And I think that's something that's in us as Nigerians and stuff like that, where we grew up in. So I would say that I was surviving, essentially. And that's the honest conversation that I had with my parents. And I said to them, listen, if you were in my shoes, you would do the same. I was just surviving in the environment that I'm in. It doesn't mean that that's the person that I am. Yeah. But if you can put a Nigerian in Antarctica and they'll find a way to survive. Yeah, fact. And I think that's
the way we from where we carry last.
Exactly. So it's that thing where, I had to do what I had to do where I was to, and I said, listen, at this point, I'll be happier to go back to boarding school and finish up there. And I think that was a great decision because when I look back at the things I've been able to achieve and where I've gotten in life, and I think those decisions really shaped who I was. And I like the fact that my parents gave me the opportunity to, talk about it and be honest and open. And,
I love that.
Yeah.
Obviously, I moved to the UK much later than you. I was 15 when I moved to the UK, and I had a similar experience. Like I developed the whole stutter. And I didn't start back in Nigeria, but when I moved to the UK, I think the anxiety of being a 15-year-old in the new school in Southeast London, and being called a fob and all that, and
your confidence sinks.
Yeah, everything. I developed a stutter. I feel like I couldn't speak English properly. Obviously, I had an accent as well because 15 years old, I was like, how are you? And all that stuff. Yeah, exactly, and kids pick up on it. And, it's
things that you don't really think about when you're back home because you always speak the same. Yeah, exactly. So no one thinks, why are you speaking like that? So it's exactly, I totally understand.
Things like you don't really consider a big thing and you're here, you're like, whoa, this, So for me, I can resonate with that story, when you were saying it. And for me, I was lucky enough to have Nigerian friends. Yeah, that were in the school as well. So that helped me a lot.
Exactly.
I felt like I was, home away from home, even though it was still tough, but it was a lot easier having those people around.
I think that definitely helped me as well.
Yeah.
There was, I mean, it doesn't seem like all of them were mean, but not all of them.
Yeah.
I had really good friends
of
when I was in school.
Yeah.
And, those guys looked out for me.
Yeah.
And to a certain extent, like you said, it made you feel like you were home away from home. Yeah.
So talk to me about boarding school back in Nigeria.
Oh man, that's an experience that I think everyone needs to have at least.
I've been to boarding school in Nigeria as well.
Yeah. I think, listen, it's just the best. It's just one of those things that you can't. I don't think you can really sell the experience of boarding school by talking to someone about it. You literally have to be in boarding school to experience, not just any boarding school, because I don't know how the boarding schools here are, but the boarding schools in Nigeria is an experience.
Different story. Different story.
Like you have every day you spend in a boarding school, you have a story to tell.
Yeah.
That's how it is. Yeah. I think I made some amazing friends for life in boarding school, and obviously moving back from the UK to Nigeria to go to boarding school, I then met my best friend and his brother. Was like we're basically brothers.
Yeah,
and they were from the UK as well, studying there. So like it was refreshing to have someone that's had the UK experience and the Nigerian experience, and we kind of understood each other.
Yeah.
We shared similar things, similar experiences from the UK. We knew about, like, if you talk about certain things from the UK, they would understand. If you talk about certain things from Nigeria, they'll get it.
Yeah.
So like it was cool.
Nice, yeah.
Remember the first time I did go to the boarding school in Nigeria, I left my books open and I was just strolling around. I was one of the first guys that arrived at school.
Yeah.
And I was just walking around before all the other students came. So I didn't know about locking your box or putting all your
guy.
So I just left it with all my Primark t-shirts and all of that. And when I came back, they had gone shopping on my box. I was pissed.
Yeah, you don't mess about.
And I didn't, because obviously no one gave me a brief. I had no one to tell me, this is what a boarding school is like. Yeah. So I just thought, like, me with my trusting self, just come from the UK. I had all my stuff, all my nice sprays and all of those things in there. I just left it and I was just walking around because when all the other students came, I wanted to like go around and just see like. Just experience the dormitory. When I came back to my bunk, I was like, rah. A lot of my stuff was gone. I learned that the hard way.
Boarding school is tough because obviously I went to boarding school when I was around like 5, 6, 7, 6 years old. So like quite really, really, really young. The experience was crazy. But I had I hated it when my parents left me at boarding school because I was like, no, don't leave me anymore. But also that boarding school experience, like it's incredible. It makes you, more independent. Like I feel like it's made me who I am today because like once they leave you're left there to fend for yourself.
You have to survive.
Yeah. Like I remember like, I had to get a school father.
Of course.
Yeah, I had to get a school father.
It's important.
Yeah. Bro,
that's key.
Yeah, like as a school father, just in case anyone try to do gada. I'm like, my school father here. We would deal with you
exactly.
And like living in like bunk house, having like multiple bunk beds in the
exactly.
same hall,
the same room, and just chatting when his lights out. And then obviously in my senior years, I then became a senior prefect. So we were living the life, man. Because then my friend's brother Shopper, he was a head boy. In the year before, so we got protection there. And then when we got to SS3, we were then prefects.
It sounds like a cartel.
Exactly. And we had our little room called A15. That was the A15 boys. Nah, listen. But really, I went to school with some really smart guys. And I remember even when Dobbs used to come into school, they used to bring it to our room to solve it for them. You know how Nigeria is, man. I enjoyed the boarding school experience. It's something that I wouldn't trade for anything. I think that really shaped a lot of who I am today, and I've met some amazing people there that are a part of my life till this day. And we just inspire each other.
So like what skills did you learn from boarding school in Nigeria that you apply to your life today?
I think, like you said, that independence.
Yeah.
It allows you to think, to survive. It expands your mind.
Of course.
You know, being in although it's such an enclosed environment,
Yeah.
it's still such an expansive experience. Because there's so many moving parts, and learning how to negotiate, learning, like, we even used to sell Indomie at an inflated price because at school you weren't allowed to bring in,
of course,
stuff into school. So we found a way to get someone to bring it in for us, and then we would sell it at an inflated price. So we even did business while we were in boarding school.
You were literally running games.
Exactly. So it's like, those, when you look at those little things, obviously it's naughty, but like, those are the things that in real life, when you come out to, you know, you need to learn how to almost hustle, and,
of course,
and you know, learn how to make money. You know, buy at this price, pay it to the person that brought it in for you, pay him a certain amount of money, sell it at this price, make a certain amount of profit. So those things, and I think people skills as well is really important,
massively.
Because whilst you're in there, it's the daily interactions and being able to make friends and all of those things. I think has really helped I feel like if I continued in the school that I went to in the UK, I probably wouldn't have as great people skills as I have today. And I think that boarding school helped because, you know, like we spoke about before, in an environment where you're constantly trying to survive, I think it doesn't give you great people skills. It probably gives you better survival skills. But in an environment where everyone feels like, you know, everyone's the same as you, and growing up in an environment where you felt like people understood who you were, and you didn't have to almost be a different person to fit into that environment, I think really helped in terms of, you know, being me, authentically me, and, you know, making friends and just being free. I think
I love that.
Boarding school, although it's gated, it's a certain level of freedom, and I think that's what I craved when I spoke to my parents. I just want to be free. I don't want to like have to pretend
to be someone else.
Be someone else, exactly. And I think
express
those, those are exactly. I think you took the words out of my mouth. Express myself, and I think that's what, you know, boarding school gave to me. Obviously, the level of education that we had as well was really, really, really good. You know, I finished with the best IGCSE results, and me and my best friend Shiji. So, you know, we really connected and you know, studied together, even sometimes playing table tennis together. Just little things like that. Washing your clothes by hand.
Proper.
Until when we got to senior, we had a laundrette and we could use
You had a laundrette?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, there was a laundrette. It's, well, you wash it by hand. It's so...
Yeah, well, you wash by hand. Or you have, you know how to nice some people to do the job for you if you don't want to do it.
Bro, like, I think I remember one time I forgot to wash my school uniform. So I had to like, do you ever do it? Like when you wash your school uniform,
wash and iron it the same day.
You put it in those like
and then put in towel,
and
then wrap it. Get your friend to hold the other side and twist it to dry, and then iron it. Listen, you have to do what you gotta do, man.
But like those kind of experiences make you like, you know, like it makes you more creative because you have to be creative to think about like solutions to your problem.
It opens your mind.
You have to be quick. You have to be creative. You have to find a school father. You have to protect your stuff. Make sure you know the things don't get lost. It's like a life lesson all in one.
All in one.
All in one package.
It prepares you for the outside world.
It
prepares you more than I think day school does. I think day school is just you spend a
few hours there.
I don't think it really, and I think obviously I was there, my parents were here. So for me, that was like real independence. And my grandparents were in a different, because I went to school in Abuja. I went to a private school in Abuja. And my grandparents were in Akwam. So I was basically alone. And I had to learn, you know.
On your own,
Exactly. I think that made me grow up really quickly. Which definitely helped.
Sharp.
Yeah, exactly.
So you moved back to the UK. You finished your GCSE in Nigeria, right?
Yeah, and then I came here. I did A levels, and then I went to university.
What uni did you go to?
I went to Uni of Surrey.
What did you do?
Mechanical engineering.
How's that?
So that's just a fun fact if people don't know.
It
was good. I think that's what I was good at. So I was good at the maths, the further maths, and you know, physics. Those are the subjects that's what I did in A levels. But those are the things that still till today occurs naturally to me. Like, you know, I could do maths in my sleep.
Damn.
So I naturally, and I love building stuff. I love being creative, and I think from when I used to love planes when I was growing up.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to be a pilot to start with.
Oh wow!
And my granddad discouraged me actually from being a pilot because it was like the risk of crashing and all of those things.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, I still want to work with planes, so I want to be an aeronautical engineer.
Yeah.
And then I think growing up, I was like, why pick aeronautical engineer when that kind of limits you to one industry? So I picked mechanical because as a mechanical engineer, I could still work with planes. I could work with any. So that was my sort of thought process when I was applying for courses. And obviously, as I was growing up, learning about what I really want to study at university. So I came to the conclusion that I want to do mechanical engineering because it doesn't sort of narrow my my opportunities.
Yeah.
I wanted to have something that gave me a bit more of a pool to pick from.
Yeah.
And even during my uni days, I worked for ExxonMobil in Nigeria. So I went back to I did my placement in Nigeria, placement year in Nigeria.
How was that?
Yeah, it was good. It was good to be back in Nigeria as an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you've got you've grown. You feel like you know more and you can do more.
You know, it was good fun. I made some real good friends whilst I was out there as well.
Yeah.
And people that that are really gonna play a great part in my life and my experiences then.
Yeah.
But yeah, mechanical engineering was mechanical engineering. That's I mean, it's hard. It was difficult-ish, but I think when I was at uni, at some point, I checked out.
Yeah.
I checked out because I realized that, especially after my placement year, I realized that this is not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I knew that when I look at my vision and where I want to be in life and the things that I want to do, it became clear to me quite early on that the route for me was always entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that I regret going to uni because I think that uni experience also, when I made great friends and it also made me discover myself.
Of course.
But other than that, there's great courses that I did that obviously shaped like project management and all of those things that help in,
So like what was it like for you? Like when did you know, that mechanical engineering was what like was it something that you were gonna do later on in life? At what point are you was it at uni or was it after uni that you started?
It was at uni.
Yeah.
And it's so hard because when you find out at uni, it's like you have two choices. You either stick it out or you drop out.
Yeah.
And I was so close.
Damn. So you stuck it out.
I stuck it out.
Yeah.
And shout out to my friend Chris.
Yeah.
He's Nigerian as well, but he came to uni here. I don't think he realizes that a big reason why I stuck it out was, one, I don't like to not finish things that I started. But I had him, like we used to study together.
Yeah.
And, just every time, I get Chris, guy, how far there's coursework that we need to submit, like just little things like that kept me going. And so, I just powered through it. And when I finished, I was like, cool. And also I just wanted my parents to look back, my son's
be proud.
Finish and be proud and that I started.
So like,
I'm sure they would have still been proud even if I decided to leave, but I still just wanted to, finish what I started. And I was this close. I was literally just 1 year left at the point where I really, really knew that this isn't what I want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So, the decision, I hate that word, the decision to go to do mechanical engineering in the first place, was that yours or was it?
Yeah, that was mine.
Was it because it came easy to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
The thing is, I've always had a family, like my family is very, I wouldn't say they're very typical. I mean, there are some aspects that are typical Nigerian family, but I think also my dad being born in the UK and, it has a different sort of, what's the word for it? Approach towards certain things. So I had a lot more freedom of choice.
Yeah.
In terms of, where they listened to what I was good at and what I wanted to do, in certain things, especially from the educational point, which I think is really important to what, your dad as well. And
Yeah.
like me and my wife.
Yeah.
pay attention to those things with our son, just making sure that we are paying attention to the things that he's good at.
True.
And not necessarily trying to do Project Drape when really the guy is Burna Boy. So it's making. I think that's something that my parents did, which they gave me a little bit of freedom where I was able to, make a choice to do what I was good at, because those things were easy to me. Like even at A levels, I did further maths, and physics. People think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But to me, I was like,
oh, me, boy.
It was it was like that was light work to me. Yeah. So yeah, I enjoyed those aspects of it.
Amazing. So fast forward to life after uni. Obviously, now that you found out mechanical engineering isn't something that you actually want to do going forward, how did you navigate, finishing uni, graduating, the thoughts of having to get a job, potentially in something that you might not want to do? How was that?
I think I never had the thoughts of getting a job, and I made it clear to my parents that when I come out of uni, this is what I want to do, and this is what I want to focus in. I want to try and build my own business, and so I had to come out of uni and just hustle, go straight into it. I used to subcontract and do some contract work with Twickenham Stadium. Yeah. Whilst I was just trying to build my own thing in that time, worked with my godmom on trying to open a restaurant as well. Yeah. Which eventually didn't fruition, but like just chasing different projects and trying to see that's that entrepreneurial journey is doing different things and seeing what works. And I think when I came out of uni, that's what I went straight into. Even whilst I was at uni, I was I started in my final year. I was doing some hospitality stuff, and that kind of drove me towards a lot of the stuff that I do now. And and obviously I do have my creative sides where during uni time I used to DJ.
That's it. Come on, DJ Ime.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I did well. I mean, I still know how to do it, but obviously at some point I had to pick what I want to focus on in life, and I made a choice that what, do I see myself DJing where I want to be? Yeah. Do I see myself getting there as a DJ? Do I see this being the path for me? And I didn't think so. So I had to put that as a hobby and keep it pushing with the things that I was really passionate about and creating that path.
Yeah. So like, how did you figure out, how to start a business, especially after finishing uni?
I just learn on the job.
You're so Nigerian, bro.
Just start and you figure it out. Learn as you go. And I think, I learned as I went. Yeah. I did. And and that's something that I'm keen on creating and getting to a place. I don't by all means, I don't know. I'm still learning a lot about business. But something I talk to a lot of my staff about, because we do share, I try to keep an open environment within the business that we do that allows staff to come in. I know some of them have little businesses and stuff. Of course, and, I talk to them about it and advise them, tell them the things that they should do and the things that they shouldn't do. And the reason I do those things is I wish I had that. Yep. And as a young black male, it's really hard to get a role model and get people that are a mentor. It's really important to have one. And to be honest with you, I am still really looking for someone that I think. Yeah. I felt like I met someone that I think would fit in terms of what I'm doing. Yeah. But again, it's just making that approach at the right time and making sure that, again, it's something that they're willing to do as well. Yeah, because some of the people just don't have the time to do it. And I think that's why even in this, at the early stage of my business, I try to make time to converse with, people, the staff that we have. And because I know they'll probably get to a point where it might not be something that I'm doing intentionally, but you get to a point where you're almost really, really busy but I still want to make sure that when we get to that stage as, a business or a big CEO, I still want to dedicate a big part of what I'm doing to giving back, especially to the young people, mentoring people, and just sharing my journey. Well, that's why even when you invited me, I was like, you know what, I'm so tired from yesterday's event, but I do want to come on here because I appreciate an opportunity for people to know my journey, and it might inspire someone out there to do, to go out and do the same, and to go out and chase their dreams, really.
Yeah. So you started a business, just went in head first.
Yeah, man.
What have you learned from that?
What have I learned from that? A lot. Money management.
Yeah.
It's really big. I think one thing that played for me, like I said, is people. And I think this is where people miss it.
Yeah.
You can't. My approach to business is not money first, it's people first.
Fact.
And I think that's something that I learned a lot along the way. And also, when we look back at everything that we've been talking about, and I say how the boarding school shaped my experiences, that experience was because of people.
Of course.
And I think if your business is centered around the people that you're creating an impact for, or the people that you're serving, then the money will take care of itself. Yeah. I don't have to worry about money because that's the whole point of business. That's the output. Yeah. Why worry about the output when you should be worried about the input?
True.
Right?
That's fact, yeah.
People start businesses and from the get-go, they're worried about, I need to make money. I need the profit. The profit needs to come.
Yeah.
Need to make the bag.
Yeah.
But the bag will come.
Yeah.
You just need to focus on what you're putting into the business and focus on the people that you have in the business and creating an impact within
that business.
That aspect of business, and the other aspects will take care of themselves. You don't have to worry about that. And I think that's the approach that over time I've taken and I've seen success in. Yeah. And those are things that I've learned along the way.
So what challenges have you, like what are the biggest challenges or, you faced along the way, starting the business?
Financing.
Yeah.
It's a big one for us because, again, we're not left with, we don't have, some people might be, but people that look like me and you never have a big pot of money sitting down that has been passed down that we can...
That generation.
That generational wealth.
Anti-Glenda.
Exactly. Again, and that's something that I wish like I had an uncle that I said, this is my vision and I need 25K. And that 25K, I wouldn't need to worry that my uncle's always on my back.
Yeah, because he's got a surplus.
Because you know what, at the end of the day, like, starting a business is a risk.
Yeah, massively.
And sometimes you need someone to believe in your dreams and take that risk and say, you know what, even if I lose this, I'm still going to love you.
Good, yeah.
And I think this is where our counterparts may be nice because they have grandparents that probably have a lot of money and they like, I want to start this. And they, you get 15K and no one worries you about that 15K. Whereas with people like us, sometimes you have to go get loans that we have to worry about paying.
Of course.
Or
it's extra stress.
So it's a lot. I'm blessed that over time I've been able to build my business in a way that I'm able to reinvest the profits from the business into. Yeah. And at some point I had to get a 9-to-5 after COVID. COVID slaughtered me, man.
Damn.
So eventually I had to get a 9-to-5 and just work my way up again, and that sort of helped me build some sort of income as well. And at that point, I'd come married during COVID, and obviously you're a big part of that. I think a big struggle is resources. I wouldn't even say money alone because, like we spoke about before, mentorship. Yeah. But I think it's like there's a lot more now. Yeah. Like these things are being spoken of a lot more now. Like there's loads of things out there that people can go to, grants out there and stuff like that. And there's loads of like programs out there, mentorship programs and stuff that people can find. And you can have I watch a lot of stuff on YouTube. So without having a direct mentor, you can sort of, for example, something like Dario, the CEO, you get an insight into your lives and stuff like that. So those things kind of act like some level of mentorship and reading articles, reading books and stuff. I'm not a big reader, so
Me neither.
Audiobook.
Yeah.
if we even go there, but
reading
but reading and just or watching stuff. If you're not someone, because I know everyone's like, oh, everything is hidden in books, but not everyone has that level of concentration to sit down and read a book, and everyone's just different in it. So if audiobooks work better for you or videos work better for you, then there's so many things out there or things that are coming up now that are there to help. Whereas, when we were starting up and building stuff, we didn't, from the young. And I think it's important to start this from a very young age. Really, and I think we did, because, from boarding school, when we were selling stuff in school, even me and my best friends, we started like a clothing brand, the Three Kings. We did events when we were in sixth form, like those little things.
But you've always had that in you.
You've always had that. And to a degree, I wish that I had someone that saw that in me very early on and said,
this is your thing.
Yeah, this is your thing. Yeah. You're an entrepreneur. And it probably would have saved me 4 years of going to university
trying
to figure that out. You get what I mean? And I think, obviously, we don't have a lot of, and I don't blame our parents because the era that they grew up in, it was all about getting work and, getting that secure job. Making a salary and, buying a house and, having that secure life. Yeah. But at the same time, if you have someone within the family that's been an entrepreneur, they will be able to quickly pick that. Yeah. I mean, I've had a bit of both. So like with my son, I'll be able to, if I saw entrepreneurship in him quite earlier on, or I saw that he was good at music and I saw I'd push him more towards what he's good at. Obviously, still let him make his decisions, but, guide him because we're there to be guides, right? And you can only guide someone as much as you know.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's part of the reason why, I never blame our parents for what's the best for us. They want the best for us because, they're our parents. And
they did the best with what they had.
Exactly.
Or what they knew.
Yeah. So talk to me. Why event staffing company?
To be fair, when it's I say hospitality in general, because event staffing is such a small part of that. I think again with hospitality, it's about serving people, which is what I'm about.
Love that.
It's about serving people, and with event staffing, we're serving people in all ways. I'm able to serve the staff in a way of providing them with opportunities where they can make some money, and they're able to probably use that money and invest in their businesses or pay their rent or do something. So I'm serving them in that way. And then in doing that, they then able to serve the clients.
True.
So I don't worry about serving the clients. Because I worry about serving the staff, and they will serve the clients. Yeah. And I think that's something I love about hospitality is that satisfaction that you get from making someone else happy through service. Yeah. And that's what's always driven.
I love that.
Businesses.
I love that. I think a lot of companies or CEOs don't, lose focus of what's important. They want to get the job, but they don't focus on the people that are going to get you that job. And if you look after your staff well, if you truly care about them, they will care about you because you're putting in all that effort into them. And I love the fact that you're putting your staff first because then you can rest, relax, and knowing that they will do a good job because they've been looked after. So I think that's really, really important. What advice would you give to anyone that's looking to do something similar to you or start an agent? Would you call yourself an agency? Or
we're a consultancy, actually. We're not an agency. Yeah. It's a different.
What's the difference?
I mean, an agency employs and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're more of we take a consultancy approach anyway. Yeah. Where we speak to the clients and then we go and find people who are sort of freelance and they're happy to do the work that the client works, and then we bring them together. So we focus on them
on that, and
then it's also giving advice to the client. So, for example, if you wanted to do a wedding and you're not sure where to start, we have a conversation with you. The team understands what you're trying to achieve for your special day, and we tell you, okay, well, you've got a car park and you've got 300 cars coming, you're going to need this amount of car park attendance. If you're having an invite-only event, you're going to need this amount of security at the door. You're going to need this number of hostesses. You're going to need this number of waiters to serve the food. We work with a lot of caterers. We work with a lot of chefs. So it's a lot.
So like that, yeah. What advice would you give to anyone that's listening to this right now and thinking, I want to do what he's doing? How do they get started?
I'd say go for it, but also have the right intentions.
Of course.
If you approach business with the wrong intentions, it will swallow you up quite quickly.
Yeah.
Are you ready? I mean, everything that we said sounds really good, but are you ready to have the sleepless nights that I've had?
Facts.
Are you ready to, when the time comes to really dig in for it, it's like, are you ready for it? So I'd say having the right intentions. Because I think everyone that goes, there's loads, everyday business is created, but not a lot of people survive the 2-year mark, right? And I think that's down to one, purpose, drive, strategy, and drive. I did say drive, right? So what drives you to start a business?
Facts.
If money drives you to start a business, forget it.
Yeah.
Just go get a 9-to-5, bro.
Yeah. Facts. Yeah.
Because that is money. That's money driven. You're gonna get money at the end of the month. You're guaranteed. Like you can't be more guaranteed.
That's it.
So just get a 9-to-5. You know.
Yeah. And obviously, like, you know, this entrepreneurship is not for everyone, and that's okay. Like, you know, you want to try it, but real, like, you need to know that, you know, if you're going into this, you have to go into it for the right reasons.
And make sure you're prepared for it.
Yeah.
You know, and I think, like I said, everything that's led up to this moment of my life has prepared me for where I am today.
Yeah.
You know, the sleepless nights in boarding school, studying for exams the next day, and, you know, going into exam with 1 or 2 hours of sleep. I can do that in my business now. I can do some events. We finish at 4 a.m., wake up the next day, go into the office, go into the storage, get things ready for the next event, pack the van or pack the car, and go to the next event at 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that's healthy.
Yeah.
But the reality is, when you're starting up, these are some of the things that you would have to do.
Yeah.
These are and this is why I said earlier I had to sacrifice something. Fact. Because where do I fit in a gym session?
I mean,
when I can't even get the full sleep. You know, at some point I used to train at night, but then it just leaves me so tired for the next day. And like, I don't get a chance to spend time with my wife. I don't get a time. You know, shout out to my wife, because for part-time, she, you know, she had to deal with that, where, you know, I had to work a 9-to-5. I had to run the business. I had to, you know, I did my consultations after 5, between 5 to 9. I had consultations in the evening after I finished my 9-to-5. Then we have to book in the staff. Then we have to go to the events over the weekend.
The amount of patience that she you know, that your partner needs for that is a lot. And, you know, you need someone like, you know, Kara, that understands the vision and the goal, and your passion for what you're doing, to be able to, you know, support you and be there for you in those times.
You need a lot of support. I have a lot of support from my family, my friends. You know, sometimes people see, you know, like, she's left her job now to join me full time, and we're both full time in the business.
I love that.
And
congratulations.
You know, thanks. And that is a level of support that to a degree, sometimes I look at it, it's like, but it's now our dream. It's no more my dream. I don't feel like she's leaving her dream to feed into mine. I feel like we have a goal together, and I think that's the whole point of being a unit. But so you need drive, you need the support. Like I said, you need the right people on your team. You know, I have a great team behind the work that I do. I'm not a one-man band. Never approach business as a one-man band. Even if you're the face of the business, you need to have support. Like with anything in life, whether that be through your family, be through your friends, be through people that you employ. And I say, when you look at the bigger business is not rocket science. Look at the bigger companies, take what they do and make it smaller.
On a smaller scale.
Right. Find a way to do what they do in a big way, in a small way, and that's what's gonna help you grow into a bigger company.
Find what to do in a big way, in a small way. Say that again. That's quite good.
Find what they do in a big way and find a way to do it in a small way.
Yeah. That is clever. Yeah, because I think a lot of times people try to do, independence is like, oh yeah, you have to be independent. Like I get the independence, but you also have you need community.
Entrepreneurship is not independence.
Yeah. It's not. Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah, it's a community.
If you look into it in depth, it's not. It's really not. It's far from it. If anything, it's when you're an entrepreneur, you actually need more people on your side. Because that's when you're gonna succeed. And the greatest of the CEOs will tell you the same thing, that the reason I'm where I am today is because of the people that I have behind me pushing me.
That's it.
If you start a business and it's just you, there's no one pushing you.
No,
you don't have momentum.
True.
The support and the people behind you is what gives you momentum.
The drive.
And, I have that through my wife and through the people that work for us and work with us.
So what's next for you and the business?
What's next is I can't speak about a lot of the stuff that we're doing due to proprietary information, but we are building some great stuff for next year. I mean, we doubled our revenue this year, which is great.
Come on.
And just looking to build on from there, and we're really looking to take this, expand what we've done to a much larger scale. And I think for us is also not just expansion, but preserving the quality, and that's part of what drives us in what we do, is the quality of what we're doing, is expanding that in a way that that quality is going to still stay there, and our clients and our staff are still getting the best, because it's really hard to expand and preserve quality, but we're trying to do that. And that's why even this year we've had loads of opportunity for growth, but because of the quality, we still don't want to. We don't run marketing, because then we would get too big. Again, that's another thing that you want to get big, but you don't want to get too big too quickly, too soon. You need to be prepared. And I think what we're doing now is laying the groundwork and making sure that we are prepared for the growth that is to come next year. And so we're working on some really great things. And, we've invested a lot of money this year, just hoping that and praying. Because I think as an entrepreneur, you need that. You need God's grace.
You
need God's grace.
Massively.
So, just because I'd say entrepreneurship is, to a degree, you're doing something and waking up blindly to it next, because nothing is certain, right?
It's like for me, I find it crazy, because I find it crazy and amazing at the same time, because you have no proof that you're gonna do well, but you still wake up and thinking, I'm gonna put all my money into this. I'm just gonna
you have to put your heart, your whole heart into it. You can't go in half-hearted.
No, that's it.
You're gonna fail.
Facts.
You have to go in there, and you're gonna wake up the next day, and you're gonna be like, you know what, if this doesn't work, I believe in myself so much that I'm gonna find another way. I'm gonna find something. This will not be the end of me. I love that. That.
So before we almost wrap up, question: what advice would you give to your younger self? That was in secondary school, thinking about the future. What advice? What would you say to your young self?
Don't care too much about what people think about you. Just be yourself. And I know it's harder said than done. But I wish someone told me that. I wish someone told me, listen, when you grow up, you realize how so insignificant what people think about you is.
Oh, fact.
It's so insignificant. It's like it couldn't be further from their interpretation of you is not your truth.
True.
You need to, focus on yourself. Forget about what other people think you should be and how you should be, and just be your authentic self. Because everything that everything is inside you. You just need to bring it out, and don't allow external factors to affect. Because all external factors can do sometimes is shell you up.
Of course.
And you've got that greatness in you that you shouldn't allow people to shield that. Let that light shine, and yeah, that's what I would have told my younger self.
And then similar to that question, if you were to give one life advice, what would it be?
Just do it.
Nike.
Fear. Yeah, man.
Yeah,
just do it. Just like fear restricts you. Just be free. Like when you embrace that level of freedom where you're like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and I don't care if I fail.
That's it.
Don't be afraid of failure. Just go out there. Just do it. Just embrace your mistakes. Like life is not supposed to be perfect.
Yeah.
Life is supposed to be evolving. So
amazing.
If you make a mistake, you're gonna get back up and you're gonna keep
learn from it.
Yeah. So just do it. Yeah.
I love that. So obviously you said you're not a big book reader.
Sorry?
You said earlier you're not a big but obviously as this part of the
I listen to stuff and
as we come to the end of it, so I'm collecting like a recommendation for my guests. Like, is there any book you recommend, or it could be an audiobook?
Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's actually one book that I've read. Surprisingly, I read that when I was very young. But I'd say definitely Rich Dad Poor Dad and Knocking Doors.
Knocking Doors. Is that by?
It's by Reggie Nelson.
Okay.
Which is Carol's brother.
Oh yeah, because
a lot of people probably said opening doors. I said knocking doors, but it's because it comes from the story of him knocking on doors. I don't know if you remember the young kid that knocked on doors around London.
It was the newspaper.
So that's my wife's brother. And, I think it's
I met him at your wedding.
It's a really inspiring story, and it's really it goes to. He just did it. He just went out there and did it. He wasn't scared of, because imagine a young black boy in that area knocking on people's doors, like, the fear of even doing that, like that's such bravery. Do you get what I mean? To just say,
and it's so like unique as well.
Exactly.
So original. Like, it's thought I'm gonna go and knock on doors and.
Exactly. So I think those two books are books that every time I think about it, they've left an impact to me, and I think it will bless someone else.
Before we go, I want to ask you for a recommendation for a feel-good song. We're also creating a playlist. We're doing a lot on this podcast.
We're doing the most. You're putting me.
It could be any song.
Clearly, I'm not good with names of anything. But
knocking doors to opening doors to rocking doors.
Oh man, a feel-good song.
Yeah,
I'm a Burna Boy fan.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, we love Burna Boy. Which track though?
What track could I say? So I love City Boys,
Yeah.
Man, I love City Boys. Yeah, man. Just got energy to it. Do you get what I mean? So I don't even. It's just I think with Burna Boy creates music.
Yeah,
it's always like when you listen to just the instruments. I remember when I first heard that album, I said to my friend, watch, this song's gonna pop. This song's gonna blow.
Yeah.
Like just because like the everything, like
even J Huss start as well.
The guy's create like his creative fluids, like something, his creative juices or whatever they call it.
It's flowing.
It's flowing. It's like when you listen to it from a musical point of view, or as a musician, you really appreciate what he puts into his music. And I think a lot of people just probably like his songs because of the hype. The hype, but I think the guy's really creative.
How about Ashake?
I like Ashake. I think is one of the upcoming.
It's smashing it. Like almost like all his songs are like hits.
And I think I like what they're doing with the industry, and I like the fact that the old guys have paved the way for these guys, that they don't have to take that long to get into places like the O2.
Yeah, true.
Like back in the day, like the Burna Boy and Wizkid couldn't even dream about 1 year into their career.
I remember that the first song that I heard, I think it was like The Band. Is it Oliver Twist? I think that was one of the first songs that people started liking, and before you know it, it's like we've got a whole like Afrobeat chart now.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a thing.
Like a thing. So
I'm here for it. So Ime, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. You started from wanting to, it started from being good at maths, science. You went into mechanical engineering. Yeah. Ended up becoming a businessman, and being an entrepreneur that you've always knew deep down that you wanted to do, but somehow you have to go through this route to find who you are and what you love. Yeah. So thank you for that. I appreciate your time for coming. And I wish you all the best and congratulations. And I hope, you keep smashing it in life, in your business, your family life. And send my love to the boy. Project Mbappe or Project Burner Boy.
Whatever the project is, the world will find out soon enough. Yeah?
Thank you. I appreciate you, bro.
Thanks for having me, bro. I love it.
It's a wrap. And that's it for today's episode. If something resonated with you, please do one thing. Share it. Send it to a friend. Post it on your story. Or just talk about it with someone you trust. These conversations matter. And please, don't forget to subscribe, rate the show, and download each episode. It helps more people find this space and join our movement. And if you're ready to go deeper, join us at empoweredhumantribe.co.uk and on our socials at Empowered Human Tribe. I'm your host, Adeshina Adeshokon. You are not alone, you are not too late, and you are more powerful than you've ever been told. This is Empowered Human Podcast. Keep on shining. I will see you next time, my friend.